The coolness factor is there, but putting multiple graphics cards in your gaming system is kind of like dual wielding in Tomb Raider. More firepower at the expense of some accuracy. But while this truth has remained something of a constant, SLI technology has existed for almost 20 years and has undergone many changes to reach its current state today. So how did we get from here to here? Massdrop's vast 35-inch curved ultra-wide monitor features a 3440 by 1440 resolution and 100 Hz refresh rate. Check it out at the link below. The year was 1998. Windows 98 with support for DirectX 5 was the hot new chick on the block. Having a Pentium 2 was a gamer's fever dream. Quake and Unreal Tournament were fresh on the scene, and the first MP3 player had just launched. So yeah, ancient history. At that time, there were actually 3 key players in the 3D acceleration scene. ATI, since sold to AMD and divided out as Radeon Technologies Group, NVIDIA, that's with a big V, my friends, and 3DFX Interactive. And the high-performance graphics cards they made looked a little something like this. Our focus is on the 3DFX VooDoo 2. It had a whopping 4 megabyte frame buffer plus 4 megabytes per texture mapping unit, or TMU, for a total of 12 megs of blazing fast 90 megahertz EDO RAM. See these 3 separate chips here? One is the main graphics processor, while these 2 are actually outboard TMUs. For your reference, the current flagship Titan XP from NVIDIA has 240 of these, all of them built right into the die. Now, 3DFX's philosophy generally prioritized raw speed over features. For example, their cards only even supported 16-bit color in 3D mode, and they typically lagged behind the competition in adopting new graphical features. However, these cards were so popular at the time that their proprietary API, Glide, was adopted by major titles like Unreal and provided both higher frame rates and superior image quality, which in turn helped 3DFX win and maintain, for a time, market share. And it was this thirst for speed that drove their research and development team to invent a technology that enabled a 3D workload to be split between 2 accelerators in a single system. SLI, then called Scanline Interleave, was born. And it seems obvious in hindsight, but the concept of having each card render alternating lines of a 3D image was brilliant in its simplicity. With all this horsepower, you could play at up to 1024 by 768. I'm serious, 1024 by 768 in 3D. Of course, such a revolutionary technology had its drawbacks and teething issues. Aside from the expense of a pair of VooDoo 2s at $249 US a pop, you also needed a killer CPU, preferably overclocked to eliminate bottlenecks, a dedicated separate 2D card, and a motherboard with support for this janky triple card configuration, plus your network card, modem, sound card, etc., without running into resource allocation issues. Making matters worse, game developer support was limited, and the games that did work sometimes exhibited rendering artifacts and instability. None of this stopped 3DFX from banking on this technology to help it compete with more feature-laden competition, though. And as for how that worked out, well, the company's last hurrah was a single-card dual GPU solution, the 5500. And shortly afterward, 3DFX folded and its assets were bought out by NVIDIA, whose scalable link interface implementation of SLI will have to wait for part 2 of this story. Today is all about the ghost of LAN parties past. Courtesy of the Slavs Vintage Gaming Hardware Collection, I bring you, fully functional, the first SLI setup ever. Rocking a 700 megahertz Pentium 3 Coppermine processor with SSE, this well-preserved Dell Dimension T700R was perfect for the job. Once we upgraded it with a 40 gig hard drive, a real Vortex 2 sound card, and a 10100 NIC to complement its 56K modem, we watched her, or rather listened to her, come to life. And if that floppy seek doesn't bring back memories, well, you guys must be a little younger than me. Getting the software set up on any pre-broadband machine is a bit of a chore. Not helping matters is that if we didn't install the drivers in the right order, we ended up in a blue screen loop and had to reload the OS. But eventually, we were ready, and this was particularly exciting for me, personally, having never seen VooDoo SLI actually running in person. First impressions then. Scaling was pretty good in 3D Mark 99 at 162% of the performance of a single card. Then it fell off to 123% in 3D Mark 2000 and 120% in 3D Mark 2001. The latter two results can probably be attributed not only to the lack of a proper SLI profile, both of these benchmarks came out after 3DFX's demise, but also to the fact that 2000 and 2001 rely more heavily on transform and lighting, which VooDoo cards had to offload to the CPU, causing system-wide bottlenecking. Of course, though, we were just as interested in actual gaming performance and, even more importantly, we wanted to see the legendary glide in action. So get ready for screen capture. First, we fired up Quake 2 and used the opening sequence to gauge the relative performance between OpenGL and Glide. But while our original testing suggested we'd be looking at double the frame rate with Glide, we later realized that the VooDoo drivers overrode any and all in-game buffer swap settings and required an add-in DLL in order to turn that feature off. So much to our surprise, the OpenGL render mode actually ended up outperforming Glide with just a single card, but had no scaling in SLI, which enabled our two VooDoos to break through the 100 FPS mark at 800 by 600, scaling 173% and ending up on top. Next up, Unreal, the Quake 2 killer, and the best looking game of all time. Again, we used the opening demo and the results were even more astonishing than in Quake. I mean, would you look at that reflective surface on the bridge? This was in 1999. For context, this is what console gamers were dealing with at that point. And you can clearly see too that the frame rate is smooth as butter compared to Direct3D and OpenGL with a 120% SLI scaling factor according to our testing. With that said, when cross-checking our scaling results, we did notice that the benchmarkers of yore reported observing better SLI scaling, but every other graphics driver we tried would hard lock up in Glide before a benchmark run could even be completed. Not to be discouraged though, we finally put our machine to the test in the granddaddy of all arena shooters, the original Unreal Tournament, using the original renderers circa 99. First, the Slav tried Direct3D, and I think I'll buy his leg excuse on this one. Then, he tried OpenGL, but with similar results. Time to call the pros at 1-900-GET-HELP.
Good day, Get Help tech support line. Please state the case of your FPS emergency.
I'm actually being owned by bots.
What graphics card are you using?
It's VooDoo 2 in SLI.
You need to enable Glide Renderer.
How do I do that?
Move, I'll do it. There. Fine.
Headshot. And would you look at that? Smooth as butter. So there you have it. An amazing piece of gaming history, restored and fully functioning. So stay tuned for part 2 and the next stage of the evolution of SLI. TunnelBear is the easy-to-use VPN, and it includes important features like a kill switch. Now, normally, before you connect to your VPN, when you connect to a network, let's say a Wi-Fi hotspot, all of your traffic is actually unencrypted. So in the few seconds that it takes to connect, you've probably already broadcast your IP, maybe a few DNS requests or a search query. Well, Vigilant Bear from TunnelBear stops this from happening by blocking all outbound and inbound traffic so nothing leaks out before you connect. This helps keep you private throughout the entire connection time. And if your connection goes down for some reason, Vigilant Bear kicks back in and stops all outbound and inbound traffic again until your VPN connection comes back. TunnelBear has clients for PC, Mac, Android, iOS, and even a Chrome extension, and you can try it for free by going to tunnelbear.com/LTT. We're gonna have that linked below. So thanks for watching, guys. If this video sucked, you know what to do. But if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or check out the link to where to buy the stuff we featured, maybe new SLI stuff, I don't know, at the link in the video description. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join.